This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, Brewers Outlet, and NIL Game Changers. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Brewers Outlet, Sunbury Motor Company, and Purdy Insurance. Now, from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Happiest guy on the planet's probably Todd.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
Well, when I turn the mic on, you seem to get happy.
Well, yes, I was happy about that.
Yeah. Thought I'd mention that part. You know, great to be with you on the show today, the really big show.
I was going to say, I've done 2 shows since like December 27th. I'm just glad I remember how to do everything.
Well, you're stuck with me all week. So, I think all week. I'm trying to think. Yeah, you're stuck with me all week.
Let's be honest, it is a little disappointing.
Oh, I know, and I'm going to get to that in a moment. The Eagles looked great again, and again, the culture with which we are living in right now rears its ugly head again yesterday. What does that mean? Well, this is what it means, quite simply. Saquon Barkley makes the absolute perfect football play, right? Slides at the end, right?
Correct.
And people are furious. Why? Gambling. Gambling is creating, and again, I will go back to what I've talked about before. So this is not a this is not something I haven't talked about before, because it is something I've talked about before. Okay? It is creating a culture of individuals out there who are angrier about results. Why are they angrier? Because they have skin in the game, and it's not just their team winning or losing. It's their money. Money, money, money. In other words, it's become more personal to them. And I understand that. I completely understand it. In terms of the fact that they feel the way they do about the money part. Okay? And that is, I mean, I get it. I really get it. So, I don't care whether you're putting 50, 500, 5,000, 50,000 on games. It's going to be more personal. Oh, that team or he, or maybe in some cases she, cost me money. And that is playing a role in how deep the feelings are about winning and losing. Sometimes it is euphoric. I got it. Sometimes it's euphoric. But a lot of times, I don't know about how euphoric they are. Excuse me. By the way, I don't need to listen to myself. You don't mind.
Well, somebody forgot to put, I told you it was our first day back, forgot to put the delay on, so nobody heard that first 5 minutes.
Gee, nobody heard the first 5 minutes.
No, nobody. That's why I was flipping out, man. That's why you heard yourself for a little bit.
No, I'm still hearing myself right now.
Right now? Okay.
In terms of like feeding back to me.
All right. I don't know why that. How about now?
Much better.
Okay.
Nope. Not there.
All right.
Not there. Nope. Not there. Not there. Not there. Not there. Not there. Hit it on the side. That's what I always do. Some of the stuff's made in the old Soviet Union. All it understands is force.
Let me text the boss.
Oh, no. It's like calling a guy with a hacksaw to be your surgeon. Men's beach volleyball. I don't think so. Big Ten Network. I don't think so. All right, can I start with something? I know I'm going to turn this down so I don't have to listen to the feedback, so I apologize. Let's start with this. Nicholas Singleton is enrolled at Penn State. You may have seen a story that he is not. He is enrolled at Penn State in the spring semester. How this stuff starts and gets going, I'll never know. It's always confusing to me. Although Shields could not explain why he was not on the enrollment list. Okay? But he is enrolled. Right? So, again, we'll start with that. There you go, Todd. Whatever you did worked. Good job. Big time.
Blind squirrel nut.
So you did ask him.
I did.
Yeah. Well, tell you right now, leads the league in the blind squirrel department. That's our guy. Yeah. Oh, I can hear him griping in the background. I'm telling you I had to work today. What are you doing? All right. But Nicholas Singleton is enrolled at Penn State in the spring semester. Okay? So there was like that panic thing this morning. So what do you mean he's not enrolled? What are you talking about? So, you got to make a couple of calls. And I don't mean to football. I mean, I'm talking like a couple of calls other place. Like, he's enrolled. It's whatever, some inadvertent mistake, which happens. Okay? Okay, it happens.
I saw the tweet. I think it was one of the. Is Onward State the kids? The students? Yeah, I think it was Onward State.
I don't really follow what they do.
Yeah.
But then again, there's always that casualty of then having like, okay, now I got to go find out something I already know. Okay. All right. I'll make a couple calls to people I know. There we go. And once again, it's not correct. That's why in fact, my first class today with the students, and this will be the last class I'm teaching at Penn State. And that's been part of the plan the whole time. This is not anything. This is my plan. And I told them today, you're just trying to do an introductory thing. And like I said, look, let's have a good time with this. All right, let's have fun. Sports is meant to be fun. I said, but do your own work. Don't rely on other people to do your job. And that's a big part of this. Do your own work. Okay? And that is a part of this. That you have to, you just don't rely on what other people report, right? Go, figure out who to call, talk to the right people, right? People you trust, get it done, and then go from there. Do your own work. So. It's, you got to sit there and look at this stuff and say, what the heck's going on here? They couldn't explain why, the people at Shields couldn't explain why he wasn't. It doesn't matter. But it's a crazy world out there, and it's getting crazier by the hour. Now, the Tom Allen situation, that's one I'm not sure about. I just want to make sure and see first before we get going. I mean, I completely understand about everybody's got to make a decision as to what they want to do. Now, there are certain guys that have announced decisions. For example, Abdul Carter. Now, look, for goodness sakes, Abdul Carter, of course, is opting for the NFL draft. He should opt for the NFL draft. The 3-year rule is perfect for a guy like him. He's going to be a top 5 pick depending on need. Okay, it's all about need. Okay? All right? So it's the need part of it. And so there may be some quarterbacks, whatever, but he could be the first overall pick, the second, somewhere in the top 5, depending on which one of those teams needs quarterbacks. Zane Durant coming back. Now, he had other guys make announcements on the fact that they're going to the draft. Jalen Kimber was out of eligibility, but he still wanted to announce and thank the fans. Jalen Reed was out of eligibility. He played 4 years. He played 9 games his freshman year. So Jay Reed went 4 years of college football. Right? There's nothing in there for him to apply for an extra year. He can't. But he still announced because he wanted to thank the fans and everybody at Penn State. Devon J. Thomas, same thing. Announcing, because it's just them saying thank you to the fans. Not one of the 3 had eligibility remaining. Okay? So when you see stuff like that, that's just them saying thank you. Abdul Carter, it's obvious. Right? Guess what? He has to go. I mean, he's got everything in front of him. And he was terrific at Penn State. What a great junior year he had. Beyond words, what a great junior year he had. Okay? And, Zane Durant coming back, Zakee Wheatley coming back. I think that's huge. Now we're going to wait for other decisions. We have to see what Nick wants to do. We have to see what K-Tron has to do. Now, the portal part of it, evidently Cam Miller's put his name into the portal. The portal part ends tomorrow at midnight for Penn State, I believe. I think the rule is 5 days after your last game, which would be tomorrow. Okay. Now, keep in mind there's also that 48-hour period where somebody may put their name in late tomorrow and it doesn't get out till Friday, or it doesn't get out till Thursday, whatever. Okay? And I think that we'll see how the next, like for example, Tyler Johnson is no longer on the roster. Mekhi Flowers is no longer on the roster. So there's certain guys that have already made that decision, or whatever decision it happens to be. But that's where they are. Now, as for the game, look, in the 12-team playoff, there are going to be 11 fan bases and 11 teams and 11 coaching staffs that are disappointed beyond words. Because you get this far, and when you lose, it is hard. It's tough. Emotionally for everybody, for the fans, like the emptiness when you leave, for the team, the emptiness when you leave, for the coaches, for the emptiness when you leave. So that's the hard part of it. But now let's at least take a moment. And I think things have calmed down over the last few days. I mean, people are still disappointed, don't get me wrong. But let's go back to July. Every speaking engagement I had, whether it was Jacksonville, Daytona, Lancaster, Philadelphia, Harrisburg, Pittsburgh. I mean, I was all over the place, all right? And the same thing over and over again was, could Penn State make the playoff, and could they get a home game? Over and over again. That was the same thing I heard over and over again. Nobody mentioned about going to the Big Ten championship game. Nobody. This team, after Ohio State, and I'm the one that said it. This time it was, if Jack had said it, I'd credit Jack. But I was the one that said it in the postgame show of Ohio State. 6 tough yards away from winning, the goal line stand. Ig McNosen makes a great play. He just literally makes a great play on the interception. I mean, that's just one of those plays where the other guy makes a great play. He did. And I said in the postgame show, I said, look, Penn State's in a 4-game playoff to make the playoff. Well, starting with Washington, they won all 4 games. Okay? Now, I don't want to hear mumbo-jumbo about, it was only Washington, Purdue, Minnesota, Maryland. Please, you got to be more of an adult than that. You got to understand it's hard to win. Okay? What's the one team that beat Notre Dame this year? Northern Illinois? You can mess up. Okay, Notre Dame messed up that day. You can mess up. Penn State didn't. They had the pressure of every single one of those games. Each one of them, they had to win to keep themselves out of the opinion pool. They had to win all 4 of those games to make sure they got a home game in the playoff, which had been the stated goal of almost every fan I talked to in the offseason. Get to the playoff, get a home game. Over and over and over. Well, they had to win those 4 games. They won them. And then the bonus was, out of nowhere, they got the Big Ten championship game berth against Oregon. And again, like Ohio State and like Notre Dame, Penn State had the ball at the end trying to win. And they win the 13 games. They never won 13 games. And everybody's talking about pathway and so forth. People that talk about pathway have no idea how difficult it is to win. They beat the ACC champion. They beat the Mountain West champion. Okay? And the unfortunate part for Drew Allar is this. When you're the quarterback, you are going to get, more praise and exponentially more criticism when things don't go well. Right? Drew Allar in the playoffs played 11 consecutive quarters without throwing an interception. Okay? Biggest games of his career, 11 consecutive quarters without an interception. The 3 touchdown passes he threw against Boise State, you can't ask a quarterback to make 3 better throws than that. The one in the back of the end zone to Warren, okay, the 38-yard touchdown, perfectly placed to Amari Evans, and then the other one that gave Penn State the 2-score lead in the second half, in the back of the end zone to Tyler Warren. You can't ask a quarterback to make 3 better throws. Even in the Orange Bowl, he did not have the best night. We all know that. But on one of the touchdown drives, he went 3 for 3 for 48 yards and set up the Singleton touchdown run. Okay? But did he have his best night? No. The interception at the end? Crushing. But he got in trouble back there, first read, second read, and the problem was he wasn't outside the tackle box, so he didn't want to take it and throw it into the bench and take a grounding penalty there. But he tried to dirt it, and he misthrew it. Okay. He'll be the first to tell you, big mistake. But they aren't in that game unless he is their quarterback this season. They're not in the game. Without his performances at West Virginia, with how solid he played against the rest of the schedule, with the comeback against USC, with how he played out the end of the Minnesota game. They're not in this game without him. And how fortunate is it for Penn State Then when they open the season in 2025, that'll be the 30th start of his career, and you can't put a price on experience at any position, especially that one. If you knew Drew, you'd think the world of him. And the Drew Allar that's playing today is exponentially better than the Drew Allar that played a year ago. And he's going to get better. And he'll learn from this. Unfortunately, he's learning that a small minority of fans, and it's a small minority of fans, can be really mean. Okay? It's a small minority. But think of all the big plays he made this year to get them to this spot. In conjunction with the big plays Warren made, Singleton, Allen, plays that Trey Wallace made, that offensive line, Zane Durant, Abdul, Devon Thomas, Denai Dennis Sutton, Kobe King, Dom DeLuca, Tony Rojas, that entire secondary, the kicks that Ryan Barker made, Riley Thompson, Tyler Dozansky snapping it. I mean, across the board, everybody played a role in getting them to this point of doing something that never had happened in Penn State history. Never had happened in Penn State history. Right? They made history this year. Let's not forget that. Right? As tough as it was to walk out of that stadium on Thursday night and not have them win. That was hard. No question about it. Because they went that far. All right. Back with more.
When car repairs get difficult.
Well, I just don't know.
Me neither.
We get good. Sunbury Motors. More than quality new and used cars, Sunbury Motors specializes in complicated auto repair diagnosis. They can handle intricate repairs and even complete auto body with service open Monday through Friday, 7 till 4. And Sunbury Motors has made simple repairs easy. Maintaining your vehicle is necessary. Finding the time to do it is difficult. Welcome to Sunbury Motors Quick Lane. Just walk in or call ahead. Relax in their remodeled waiting room with Wi-Fi, beverages, and snacks. While Sunbury Motors factory-trained techs take care of your oil change, tire alignments, brakes, and inspections. Quick Lane, 6:30 to 6, Monday through Friday, Saturday, 6:30 till 2. Sunbury Motors, Ford and Hyundai, North 4th Street, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. We take the out of auto repair.
Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Purdy Insurance, Brewers Outlet, and Sunbury Motor Company. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Just so you know, I had to hang up on Jack Ham to talk to you. Just so you know. I mean, come on. I just want to make sure you guys understand how important I think, Todd, how important you are to all this. Okay?
That's going on my grave. Steve hung up on a Hall of Famer.
To talk to me. Wow. Oh, goodness gracious. All right. So, this half hour, being brought to you by Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury, Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. We bring in Mike Poorman. Hello, Mike. Welcome back. It's great to talk to you. It's great to see you both in Phoenix and also in Miami.
Well, it's you go from ham to a ham and eggers, so there you go.
Well, it's great to talk with you, Mike. We are now hitting the interesting time of the year, but before we get to the interesting time of the year of comings and goings, in the off season, I was asked more often than not about A, getting to the playoff, and B, hosting a game. Nothing else beyond that. Now they've gone through it, and they went past all of that. Does hindsight give us an idea of how much progress was made this year based on what the goal?
Well, it should. And hindsight is always 2015, right? But I think that the way things move so fast and the way the game ended the other night is superseding what was accomplished. And I wrote a piece heading into it. Final Four. If you make the Final Four in basketball, it's crazy good, right? And it hit me when I heard the phrase for the first time, Penn State football made the Final Four. If you want to compare apples to oranges, basketball to football, Final Four is a huge idea. If this was basketball, I think Mike Rhodes would have not only a road, but they'd rename Beaver Avenue in his favor if they made the Final Four.
No question. And that's what Penn State did in football this year. They made the Final Four along the way. Now, the game itself, incredibly disappointing. I felt like it wasn't that Notre Dame won the big plays. I felt like Notre Dame won more of the big moments in the game. How did you look at it?
Yeah, that's really well put. The moments were not too big for them. And I think for that reason, they were able to stay in the game, even though it didn't seem it. I was watching the Eagles yesterday, and it was 10-0. And I don't know if it was Brady or his play-by-play person, but they said it feels like it's 78-0, and that's how the first half felt against Notre Dame. So they rode the moments, Notre Dame. It's kind of funny how that played out, and then they scored 24 in the second half, which was incredible.
Yeah, it was. But it's amazing how we always talk about you need touchdowns, and like that opening scoring drive where Penn State got 3 when he was wide open for 7. You felt like that really hurt. I felt like the field goal at the end of the half, especially when they created the fumble and it looked like Abdul-Carr had it, you felt like that really hurt. I mean, there's certain things that hurt along the way beyond everything else.
I think that fumble recovery by Notre Dame may have been the play of the game because it gave them momentum. And this was interesting. I know you're doing the broadcast, but James in his TV comments on the way out into the locker room at halftime said, we're good. And I thought, uh-oh, you're up 10-0, but, that's not good. You should be thinking we're 0-0. And I think that, I'm not sure if James said anything at halftime, but given what we've learned that Freeman said at halftime, I think Penn State had a 10-3 lead, and it felt 20-3, and they acted like it was 20-3.
Well, okay, so the Drew Allar part of it, we all know that reactions run hot on these things after games like that. I mean, it runs hot. Now that everything is cooled down a bit, are you getting more rational comments? Not happy and not, thrilled with, either a pass here, whatever. But is it a little more rational now?
Yeah, Joel Klatt had some really rational thoughts as far as the situation Drew was in and how he reacted on the field. And for me, it's Joel Klatt matters much more than a Joe Smith, and I intentionally don't read the message boards. So I think in that sense, Drew was maybe in a position where, God love him, and the Drew last year wouldn't have done that, right? The Drew last year would have not tried to make a play. And the Drew this year did try to make the play. And the fact that they were in that situation was a number of things. Drew just happened to be the point guy for it. And I thought he handled it well in the post-game presser. And he's back on campus. And I think this is kind of corny, Steve, but you're probably the perfect person to share this with, is as a professor and a person who's so close with the guys, college is still a learning experience. And so for Drew, this was the ultimate learning experience, right?
There's no question about that. And history can be a great teacher. Now, everybody is a different personality and a different talent. But we all, those who are old enough will remember the 1985 Orange Bowl. Penn State played Oklahoma for the national championship. John Schaefer didn't have America's greatest night. Okay? Edwin Pope, whom the press box is named after at Hard Rock Stadium, was incredibly cruel in his column the next day about John. And the fans weren't cruel. I'm talking about remember the poll the Patriot News did about quarterbacks? I got that.
Oh, yeah, who's going to start and with quarterback? And along with Pope was Dan Levitard, who was a columnist in Miami at the time. I mean, it was incredibly harsh. And John threw for 53 yards and had to win his job back. I don't think that's going to be the case with Drew.
No. But my point is, John came back the next year, and his two best games, by the way, were at Notre Dame and at Alabama. He missed a total of 7 passes, 7 incompletions in 2 games in those 2 venues, Bryant-Denny Stadium and Notre Dame Stadium, right? And that was as a senior, and it showed you the mental fortitude of John Schaefer, the way he bounced back from a bad experience. That's a lesson to learn from, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. And I think Drew's smart enough and self-aware enough to take that away. I think that, and the comparison is a good one, but we both know that 86 teams seemingly had half a roster full of fifth-year guys. That doesn't happen these days, and so the outsized responsibility to bounce back is not just going to be on Drew and as an individual, but Drew as a team leader, I think.
No question. And now it's going to be a question of who else fills in around him. And that's where the interesting part of the offseason, which is underway. I think the portal for Penn State closes tomorrow at midnight, I do believe. That's the end of the 5 days. Then there's this 48-hour period where maybe a name gets in there late, but they put it in before the deadline. So we'll know by probably Thursday at the very latest of every name that's in there. The roster retention part, not easy, but this is where new money coming in from the athletic department plus NIL. What kind of role can that play in roster retention?
Oh, it's massive. I told Todd, I've never prepared like I have for a 10-minute radio interview. You know, I'm thinking like I'm a GM, and I have a cheat sheet in front of me of who went into the draft, who's coming back, who doesn't have an announcement, who left in the portal, who came in the portal. It's incredible, and it's interesting. I'm not sure they've made the hire, but late fall, Penn State had a job posting for essentially a general manager to manage the dollars, the cents, and the analytics. And this is beyond the great job that Andy Frank, who not coincidentally is a Princeton engineer, has already done to manage those type of things.
Yeah, and see, that's the important part, because that assistant general manager part, the key to that is for that person to handle the money, right? Andy can handle personnel, but having somebody that's almost like a capologist, that's about what this is. This is a capologist job.
You know, and you're looking at an infusion, and it's interesting. Missouri's numbers were made public this week, but you're looking at an infusion of cash from the athletic department to be paid out to the football roster of probably $16 million. That's in addition to whatever happened Value United or any other deals that are out there. So then you have to parcel out that $16 million, and it'll be interesting. Is there enough there to pay 2 1,000-yard rushers who are in their 4th year? Those are the really hard decisions.
Maybe hard decisions, but let me throw something out there for you. I don't know what the rules state about this. I don't think anybody knows what the rules are. But who's to say people, I don't care what school it happens to be, Penn State or somebody else, who's to say there's not deferred money involved here?
Oh, is that your idea? I love that, Steve Jones. That's brilliant. That's something. I can share this at the Fiesta Bowl, and I love Matt Millen. I was privileged to spend a couple meals with him.
Isn't he the best?
Matt, and I would say this if he's on the call. He's a great guy, super smart. I don't know how he ended up being the general manager that he was, but he negotiated with Al Davis deferred payments of $250,000 a year for 35 years, and he got the last payment last year.
Yep.
I mean, maybe Matt should be the capologist.
Maybe he should be, because you have to. There has to be ways where you think outside the box with this. And if you think outside the box, and the reason I bring it up is this: what if you are, I don't know, let's pick a player from another team. Okay, let's instead of doing Penn State, you're Ohio State with Jeremiah Smith. All right. Now I know you have to have him for 2 years, but you want to make sure he's not in the portal. Okay. Do I put together a deal where over the next 10 years? Okay, I'm going to give him money, deferred money, right? That way, when he gets to the NFL, there's an injury, he's still got that coming in. Or like take their quarterback, Will Howard, who's not eligible to come back next year anyway. But say they're going after Will Howard, we need to have him for a year. We're going to give you X amount, but we're going to defer 5 years because Will Howard's not going to be a pro quarterback. He'll be in the NFL, but he's going to be on the practice squad. Sorry.
Right. I mean, if he can keep his feet under him, that's another.
Right. I'm just saying, but he'll probably be on the practice squad, third guy, second guy on certain weeks, whatever. But he'll still be getting money from Ohio State. I'm just saying that's just I think you have to think outside the box with some of this stuff.
I like that, Steve. You'd be the first broadcaster capologist. But even with James Franklin, James has his annual $1 million life insurance policy, and he gets the money that spins off of that. I mean, that's another way of getting deferred or enhanced revenue in a way that if you're putting, I mean, for Penn State, they get the life insurance policy, but every year it's spitting out money that James gets. Who's to say you couldn't do that for Denai Dennis Sutton?
Right, exactly. I'm just saying. Now, I don't know what the rules state you can or can't do. I don't know what the rules state on that. I don't think anybody knows what the rules are right now. But when you look at the 105-man roster, let's go to that part. The limit will be 105. Now, in my opinion, they need to change that. If you want to go to 105 scholarships and 15 practice players, a.k.a. walk-ons, that's better because you need that for a practice. But going to 105, what does that do in your opinion? Does it make the transfer portal more active because now you're trying to fill it with 20 extra guys on scholarship?
Well, you can, yeah, and they're going to go against your payroll numbers as well as your
Sure.
roster numbers. I think some ways though those guys will be less fungible. The 85 to 105, like especially the 90 to 105, those are the guys who maybe special teamers may start their last year, but they're the ones that have always wanted to play for dear old state.
Right. I agree.
Finn Furmanek, right? Is that his last name?
Finn Furmanek, the tight end. Dominic DeLuca. Right? I mean, before he has a scholarship now, but he was a walk-on when he came here. Yeah,
I mean, he's the ultimate case, but Finn may be the guy that personifies the last 20 spots.
Yep, exactly right. Finn Furmanek is exactly that kind of guy. Tyler Holsworth, that kind of guy. There's just a lot. Yep, I mean, there's a lot of guys that fall into that category. And I could, Winston Yates. I mean, I can go on and on with guys that fill that category that you win because you have them on your team and they're there every day. And to me, they need to rethink that part of it. I mean,
it's a great point, and I think it's fair to say that that's part of Penn State's brand, and it's part of Penn State's brand that I think James, even down to his post-game presser the other day, has embraced. I think it's now a new and different kind of selling point.
It's interesting. Did you ever think that you would have to cover college sports in this manner, Mike? All those wonderful years in your career, did you ever think you'd have to cover it in this way?
Absolutely not. I mean, it's all changed. I mean, it's as busy. What's happening now is usually this is the time where it's a blackout, and then the head coach shows up on early February on signing day, and there's some quotes and some news, but no, and I don't think this is sustainable. I'm not the first person to
I
say
agree.
that, but it's not sustainable.
Let me ask you from an instruction point of view. From an instruction point of view, how do you talk to students about how it is today and how they need to cover it and what their adaptability has to be?
Well, that's same for you. That is a great question, and the class I teach is the industry, and not just media, and it is so much more. It's funny. My table's spread out here, finalizing my syllabus, and it is so much more of the industry and the business side of things than ever before. And here's the flip side of that. As a reporter, there's more of that to cover. But then from an industry standpoint, the local newspapers are not hiring beat writers really anymore. But the teams and the leagues and the sites, the industry has created a lot of jobs and a lot of opportunity as opposed to the media side of things.
Mike, always a pleasure. These are always interesting conversations because we, quote, live in interesting times. Thanks so much.
I love your deferred idea, Steve Jones. That's a home run, buddy.
We'll see. I don't know what the rules are. I may be proposing something that's against the rules, so I don't know.
Well,
but
it'll change next week, so that's okay.
That's true. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
All right, see you, Steve. Bye-bye.
You bet. Mike Poorman, statecollege.com. All right. So we will see what's going on, and we'll see what's going on with Tom Allen, by the way. Because I know Clemson obviously, I know he's been offered, but I don't know what the answer is, yay, nay, whatever. I have to wait for some announcement from somebody along the way. But Pete Thamel's reporting, and a couple other people are reporting that it looks like he's that Clemson's right there. Mike McCarthy is out, 5 seasons with the Dallas Cowboys. Now people are going to wonder what's going to happen to Mike Tomlin. Nakobe Dean, by the way, is out for the rest of the playoffs for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I don't know, did I mention this earlier about Saquon Barkley, the Barkley play?
That was when we weren't on air, but yes, you did. Nobody heard you though.
Oh, nobody heard me again. Yeah. Okay, this is the gambling part of it. This is the part that bothers me. He makes not a good football play, a great football play, because all it matters is that you win. And he slides down, and people, I can't believe it, because he cost people money. I can't believe it. Well, it's not his job to get you money, okay? You lost money because of you, not him. Okay? You lost money because you put the money down. He didn't go up to you, hey, put the money down, I'm going to 3 touchdowns, whatever it is. Right? He didn't tell you put the money down. You did it all by yourself. That's why it's called gambling. But you can't get mad at him for making a great football play. The whole thing to him is win the game. That was winning football. That's what a winning football player and a winning football team does. And then Jalen Hurts took the knee. That's winning football. The whole thing is to win. Get to either the Vikings or the Rams. Okay? That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. All right. See, the best part of the show was actually the part I was off the air, and a lot of people seem to feel that way. Why is that, Todd?
I don't know. I guess I should have done it a little longer.
Oh, evidently the ratings went up. Unbelievable. Just when I thought I had support from my coworkers.
It's like I said to the suit, it's like I've been gone for 10 days.
Oh, brutal. That's okay. Just knowing the suit is around and has your back. All right, disregard that. Back with more in a moment. Here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.